TREPANG2 is a first-person shooter that came out back in June 2023, and it's been a little over 3 years since then. It is still single-player only, and at this point both of its expansions are out. So what's available now is basically the finished version of the game. The developers actually said in May 2025 that they are done adding to it, and moving on to the next project. So this is a good moment to look at what TREPANG2 actually turned into. The setup puts you into the shoes of Subject 106, an amnesiac super soldier who breaks out of a black site, run by a shady company called Horizon. You get pulled into a group called Task Force 27, and from there the story sends you through more of Horizon's hidden facilities, uncovering the private military units, a violent cult, and some genuinely strange supernatural stuff along the way. There's definitely more going on under the surface than that description suggests, including some twists tied to who 106 really is, but the story is there to support the action, rather than lead it. What the game is actually about is making the combat simply feel incredible. The weapons hit extremely hard, and the game shows it. It is all built to feel as satisfying as it can. Close range skills, especially with the shotgun, tear rooms apart with blood, debris, and bodies flying everywhere. So every fight leaves the place looking completely different than it did a few seconds earlier. Your main tool is focus, which slows time down while you stay at full speed. It recharges fast enough that you're meant to use it constantly, not save it for emergencies. You can dodge bullets perfectly this way, line up headshots, or reload in situations that would normally get you killed. On top of that you can sprint, slide into enemies to knock them down, grab dazed enemies to use as human shields, and turn invisible with a cloak ability that works just as well for repositioning mid-fight as it does for actual stealth. Eventually you unlock one of the most fun features, that is dual wielding, for most of your weapons, up to and including things like dual grenade launchers. And of course this would all not work if the enemies were just standing there waiting to get shot. Their squads communicate, take cover, they flank you, and throw grenades to push you out of position. And that gets more noticeable the higher you push the difficulty. Difficulty options go all the way up to extreme and a mode called rage mode, and beating tougher settings unlocks cheats and modifiers that you can carry into future runs. Structurally the game is mission based. You return to a hub between missions to manage your loadout and pick what's next. There's no loot grind here, no rarity system, no gear score climbing. Weapons can take attachments that meaningfully change how they behave, but the arsenal stays fairly focused. A first playthrough runs somewhere around 6 to 8 hours, and that is the most common criticism people bring up. It is a short campaign for a modern shooter. The side missions also tend to be weaker than the main story missions, closer to extra combat than fully designed levels. And while there's a real horror element here, this doesn't land as consistently as the combat does. This is of course not necessarily a bad thing, depending on your taste and what you're looking for. It simply plays more like an action game mixed with horror mixed in, than the other way around. Since launch, 2 paid expansions came out. The survival mode DLC landed in October 2023 and added a dedicated survival mode, along with cosmetics and 3 new grenade types. Blade Kisser followed in July 2024 as the bigger release. This adds 2 new side missions, 9 new combat simulator maps, 3 new weapons including a sword for melee combat, 3 new high value targets, and some extra lore. There were also free patches around both releases. The Steam reviews currently sit around 94% positive, and that number is really deserved. So it isn't really some tiny unknown release. It does have a dedicated audience and strong numbers behind it, but it also doesn't come up much if at all when people talk about the best modern single player shooters, even though the combat here holds up as well as almost anything else in the genre. If you do like games like Fear, or just want a shooter that makes you feel completely overpowered while still giving you enemies smart enough to push back, then this is worth your time. It is rather short for a first playthrough, but it does have replay value.